The Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad is located on 200 Southeast 5th Street in Abilene, Kansas. The Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad offers public excursion train rides May through October. The Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad is located just at the old Abilene town, south of the Dwight D. Eisenhower Presidential Library and Museum. The railroad line that it travels along is the former Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad line that used to run from Harrington, Kansas to Salina, Kansas. The railroad runs dinner trains once a month. The trains operate on approximately 5.5 miles of trackage between Abilene, Kansas and Enterprise, Kansas. And also, the locomotive hooks to the train for the return trip to Abilene from Enterprise as well. Also, the railroad even has a rail bus called the Silver Flyer Rail Bus, and it's scheduled to run on the line on days it's scheduled to run. So if you ever wonder when it will run, try checking the website. Also, the railroad excursion trains are also pulled by diesel and steam trains as well. Union Pacific 25466 was built in 1959 and was used behind in a CA7 class steel caboose. This caboose was one of the many steel Union Pacific cabooses used behind freight trains in the past on the Union Pacific line. Later on, Union Pacific was used as the train crew's office. Then later on, Union Pacific 25466 was then retired in May of 1989 and then donated to the Riley County Historical Museum in Manhattan, Kansas. Then in October that year was moved to the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad Association in Abilene, Kansas, and then restored in 1993 and also used for the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad train, and people even ride in it as well. What you see right behind me is Hutchison and Northern 4. Hutchison and Northern 4 was built by Alco in Schenectady, New York in 1945 and is the 733-53rd diesel locomotive built by that factory and is an Alco S1 type diesel locomotive. This locomotive was originally built for the South Omaha Terminal Railway as South Omaha Terminal Railway 1 and operated as if it was a shunter locomotive there. Then, in 1969, it was sold to the Hutchison and Northern Railroad as Hutchison and Northern 4. and was used as a shunter locomotive there and used in Hutchinson, Kansas as well. Then later, the locomotive was sold to the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad and even operates whenever it's used for pulling the trains there as well. Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 3415 was built by Baldwin in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1919 and is the 51861st steam locomotive built by that factory and is a 462 Pacific type steam locomotive and is a 3400 class steam locomotive. Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 3415 hauled passenger trains on the Illinois and Missouri divisions of the Eastern lines, but also on all divisions on the Western lines and the Northern division of the Gulf Line. Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 3415, along with other 3400s, were built with 73-inch drivers, but from 1935 to 1941, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe's Topeka shops rebuilt them as oil burners with 79-inch box pock drivers with new thicker main rods and Elisco feed water heaters. Also, Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 3415 was then retired in the 1950s and in 1955 was donated to Abilene, Kansas and sat next to the main line of the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Eisenhower Park, and also put on static display in 1996, and people even got to climb into the locomotive's cab. And then in 2005, the locomotive was moved from the park to the train shed for restoration. And then in 2009, Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 3415 went back to operation and still operates on the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad whenever it's scheduled to run. Also, Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 3415 is one of 6 remaining Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 462s left in the world today, and 3415 can be seen part of the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad, where it operates very often today. What you see right behind me is Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul 656. Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul 656 was built in 1947 and is a passenger coach. Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul 656 was once numbered as Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul 546, then later renumbered to 656. The coach was a leg rest coach rebuilt from a 52-seat coach. And also, this car is painted in a Union Pacific scheme. Also, the car was used on passenger trains many years ago. Then, Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul 656 was retired in 1971 and then sold to and used as Hardee's restaurant in Spirit Lake, Iowa, and then sold and moved to Troy, Kansas. Later, the coach was donated to the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad and used part of the dinner train whenever the dinner train runs. The Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Depot was built in 1887 and was used for passenger service for the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad. Also, passengers would board a train or arrive on a train at this station and would even wait in the waiting room, as it contained 3 rooms. The first, from the west, was a ladies' waiting room. The second or middle room was the agent's office and ticket office. And the third room was the men's waiting room. This latter space was just recently converted to men's and women's restrooms at the east end of the building was a very large freight room that will be converted to a railroad museum. This depot was no longer being used by the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad and was moved to the south side of 5th Street to make it way for the Eisenhower Library and Museum. The outside of the building has received a new coat of paint to help preserve the building. The building still has the original woodwork, all the original woodwork and stained glass windows above the doors and windows, and it is also owned by the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad these days, and has a ticket office for passengers to buy a ticket and ride the train, and even has a gift shop as well.
Hi, I'm Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy. Also today I'm at the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas, and continuing episode 65 with part 2. What you see right behind me is Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad 3431. Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad 3431 was built by Pullman Standard in 1947 and is a passenger car. Also, the car is named Chicago. This coach was originally owned by the Chicago Northwestern Railroad and it was originally numbered 3464. For many years, it saw service on passenger trains and was used as a daytime car as well. Later on, it was placed into maintenance of way service and was renumbered 614 and was stationed in Rockford, Iowa. Later, it was renumbered X301035. Then it was retired and was then acquired by a private collector who would later donate it to the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas, and it was repainted back to its Chicago Northwestern scheme and original number. It was placed into service on the railroad in its Chicago Northwestern scheme whenever there were times it would run on the tracks. Then after the restoration was complete, it was back in service. In 2023, it was repainted maroon and was given this number and the name as well. Today, it can be found here at the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas, and is used on the railroad's excursion runs as well. What you see right behind me is Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad 34. Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad 34 was built by General Electric in Schenectady, New York in 1940 and is the 12913th diesel locomotive built by that factory and is a 44-ton center cab type diesel locomotive. Originally, it was built for the Arkansas Valley Interurban Railroad in Wichita, Kansas, and was originally number 93. It spent many years switching cars wherever it was used many years ago. Then, about 1942, it was sold to the United States Army in San Bernardino, California, and it was renumbered 7411. Then it was used on the United States Air Force and it kept the number. Then, in the mid 1960s, it was sold as surplus and ended up at the Ideal Cement Company in Superior, Nebraska, where it was renumbered 029. In 1995, it was bought by a man named Dan Rohrbach. Then he collaborated with the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas, and the locomotive was stationed at the railroad and sparingly used on the excursion trains. In 2002, it stopped operating for a while and was later determined that it was operational. In 2024, renovations began on getting the locomotive back in operation, and it included a repaint. In 2025, it was complete and looking good as new. It was also renumbered 34, which represents the former U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was the country's 34th president, and he even fought in war. Also, he is buried in Abilene, Kansas as well. It was christened by Mary Jean Eisenhower, who is one of the granddaughters of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Today, the locomotive is preserved here at the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas, and is used to haul trains on the line as well. Also, it was even nicknamed Ike as well for some reason. What you see right behind me is Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad 373. Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad 373 was built in 1953 and is an outbraced boxcar. This car was originally used for the United States Army on the railroad, and also its original number is unknown. Also, this car was used for hauling army supplies and also during World War II, and in light of the start of the Cold War, the United States military began to prepare for the possibility of a third major conflict in Europe. Railroads played a major part in moving troops and supplies during World War II, and it was felt that the role would be reprised should World War III erupt. To that end, the United States developed and built a large fleet of freight cars and locomotives that would be suitable for use on railroads in Europe and elsewhere. Then later on, the car was retired and was then acquired by the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas. In 2023, it was repainted maroon. Today, it can be found here at the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas, and is used on the railroad's excursion runs as well, and also it appears it is used as a generator car as well. What you see right behind me is Missouri, Kansas, Texas 254. Missouri, Kansas, Texas 254 was built in 1902 and is a passenger coach. It's been many years hauling passengers on board when traveling on rails for many years with passenger trains. In the 1920s, the car was destined to be scrapped, but carefully resourceful railroad executives had the idea that save this car. It was used for maintenance of way crews as it was rebuilt as a bunk car for the railroad's maintenance of way trains, and it is believed to have been numbered X2002 for service and maintenance of way use. In the 1950s, it was retired from service and it was purchased by a private collector who then donated it to the Kansas City Railroad Museum in Belton, Missouri, as it sat on the grounds as an exhibit car. Then, in 1996, the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas purchased the car, and the car was in poor condition and needed a major remodeling job if it was to be of any use to the new excursion railroad's mission. It was carefully restored to its original glory. The car was then placed into service on the railroad. In 2018, it was moved into the shop to get some woodwork on the exterior redone, since it was discovered that the wood began to rot. The restoration process has uncovered another chapter in the car's history. Restoration workers, in stripping away the exterior, discovered a significant amount of charred wood in the present day kitchen area of the car, indicating that the Cumberstone wood fired Army cook stove had at one time actually set the car on fire, which evidence suggests had burned a significant portion of the kitchen before the blaze was extinguished. Then, after that, the restoration was complete. It was back in service. In 2023, the car was repainted maroon. Today, it can be found here at the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas, and is used on the railroad's excursion runs as well. What you see right behind me is Missouri Pacific 610 651. Missouri Pacific 610 651 was built in 1951 and is a gondola car. This car was likely used to haul scrap metal, coal, gravel many years ago when it was in service. And also, there could be a possibility that this is the number this car used when it was owned by Missouri Pacific. Later on, it was retired and was then acquired by the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas, and when it arrived, it was painted green. As well as that, it was put into passenger service and was made into an open-air car. In 2012, it was repainted red. In 2021, it was given a fresh coat of paint. Today, it is here at the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad in Abilene, Kansas, where it is today and operates on the railroad, and people even get fresh air while riding this car as well. Well, I hope you all enjoyed learning about trains with me today in Matthew Lap Train Guy. Also, I hope to see you all again real soon, and if you didn't subscribe to the channel yet, the subscribe button is just down below the video screen. And if you didn't give the Facebook page a like yet, here's where you'll want to go. And if you didn't give the Instagram page a follow yet, here's where you'll want to go as well. Also, be sure to get your merch at teesprings.com. The link is in the description box below, along with the Facebook and Instagram pages. And as always, remember to subscribe to the Train Guy. So this is Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy, signing out until next time. All aboard!